Speaking of high valued individuals, we've got a
Settle down
new
there, Andrew Tate.
yikes. We've got a new record signing in MLS. It goes to FC Cincinnati. They've reset the market by reportedly making newest, most expensive incoming transfer in MLS history in Kevin Denkey, pronounced Denkey for those of you. And there's an apostrophe on the E that doesn't change the pronunciation of Kevin. So just want to put that out there. He's a Togo-born striker who just won the Golden Boot in Belgium. Reported 15.3 million euros, a fee that eclipses that of Thiago Palmada and South American Player of the Year Pity Martinez, both reportedly 14.5 million euros each to a fraud of a club in Atlanta. Your thoughts on the move, your thoughts on the ambition shown by FC Cincinnati, your thoughts on resetting the market.
Let me ask you this, Andrew.
No.
When we most recently talked about players that MLS teams should be signing, what did we say?
I know
Remind the listeners.
you're not jumping topics, are you?
Am I jumping topics?
Are you?
I'll take any
Sure.
opportunity I get to pat us on the back here.
Surely you're not, right? If I'm looking here and I say, what is that? That's crazy. Surely not.
Surely I am.
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't remember what we talked about. I only will remember it in three sections, but maybe you can remind me.
All right, fine. I'll start with the ambition. You're being annoying now, so I'm just gonna. You won. All right, you won. Okay.
I
This is your way to
always
combat
win.
me jumping topics.
Red Bull, baby. We always win.
Um, I mean, I talked about it the last time we had talked about FCC and the transfer market. They've proven to be an ambitious club. One of the things I feel like they were slightly missing though was getting things across the line because ambition is great with rumors and everything and getting fans excited and into the team and invested. But if you're not getting them across the line, then what does it matter? Charlotte can be linked to 500 different Real Madrid players. If they get none of them across the line, it means nothing. They've gotten one across the line at the striker position. It has been long overdue, and it is a fantastic example of great ambition from FC Cincinnati and should set the standard for what ambition should be for the rest of the teams in this league. But I know that won't be the case.
What are you saying there are teams out there who aren't going to be looking for $15 million players?
Never.
Colorado and Philly might spend $15 million in the next 10 years.
Will you be lucky if they spent $15?
Nice. No, ambition's a good look on Cincinnati, right? And I tweeted that and got a little bit of people like that from me, but I'm just really good at social media. Um, since he came in as a USL club known as this like mid-market team in MLS terms, right? Like it wasn't LA, it wasn't Miami, it wasn't New York, it was Cincinnati, Ohio, right? And a team that you could get some decent players, nothing's going to be earth-shattering. They stunk up the joint forever, and it was like, oh, maybe this is going to be who they are. Like they're going to make up the numbers in the league. Maybe they'll get lucky with a few homegrowns or get a good intra MLS move, and see them get into the playoffs every couple of years. But that's all it's going to be. And that was completely the opposite once this new ownership came in, made it very clear that they were not settling for mediocrity and that they would not accept being this mid-market team that could only go sign players for 4 million or whatever, right? They were in it to win it and they were going to spend to do so. This isn't just a Denkey thing, right? They took in Brenner, who did all right and got flipped for, a loss that could turn into a profit, but probably a loss. And now they set the transfer record. They aren't afraid of spending big either. If you look at their top 10 signings, over the last 2, 3 years, they've all been over €1 million, totaling somewhere in the region of like 50 million euros in 5 years, give or take. Like they're not just sitting there on their hands and saying, "Oh, well, we're Cincinnati. Oh, here we go," right? But that's significant investment when you compare it to the likes of other teams, even in their conference, right? Like Philadelphia or New York Red Bull, right? Or Atlanta United, bums. They are reinvesting the profits that they make into just not just the facilities and the owners' pockets, but also into the players and their teams so they can continue to win, which I think is great. The problem is if you look at those top five and you split them right in half, the top five and the bottom five, they usually miss on their big money moves. Brenner was all right for his time here. Bupensda, bust. And the next most expensive player, Isaac Atom. He's made 25 appearances, 1 goal, 2 assists, and has been on loan the rest of the time. They've been a lot more successful with their less expensive players, right? Barreal, Acosta, Nwobodo, Buka, all really solid, all under like the $3 million price tag, right? So sometimes it isn't always about the price you pay, but how they fit in the team. So I want to ask you, do you think Denke is going to be worth this transfer fee, or is it going to be another boom and bust?
So I think last season was a great sample for this question because you brought in guys like Kuipers and Petar Musa and Joseph Paintsil. I think those are three good examples. And the situations where you give them help on the field, they thrived. And by that, I mean Paintsil, right? The Paintsil had an amazing attack around him, and he looked great being a part of that attack. Musa and Kuipers had no help whatsoever, still managed to put up good seasons because I think that they're just talented players, but they need help if they're going to hit the levels that they need to hit. And so that's the same way I feel about Denke as well. You need to get help around him, whether that's in terms of wingbacks, a number 10, another striker, somebody who's going to help him in the attack. Because I think if you just leave it to him on his own, I think he'll still be a good player, but I don't think he will live up to the transfer fee that you paid. And had there not been all this stuff going on with Luciano Acosta, I would feel way more confident about it. But with Acosta potentially out the door, I mean, there's still questions to be had as to what that help is going to look like next season.
Yeah, I am kind of right there with you. I'm a little split on it. I think, prices are going to be what they are. The global football market is constantly increasing values of players because they can. It's like other transfers or like other markets, like the stock market. Like, who controls the stock market? Absolutely nobody. Why do the prices go up and down? Nobody knows. Why do players now cost $1 billion when they used to cost 20 million and 10 years ago? Nobody knows, right? And no, I don't want comments in my comment section. Well, the stock market works because stay away.
I'll do it for you.
No, nobody, no. See, that's the thing. Nobody asked, right? Obviously the prices are set for right here, right now, right? You're not spending $16 million on a guy who might be good in MLS one day or who was really good 3 years ago and kind of fell off, right? Denke's coming off 23 goals in Belgium last season. He's already had another 7 and 13 right now. Like, he scored in European competitions, regardless of how pointless the Conference League is. Like, it's a European competition, and if it was in America, it would be the most stupid thing ever and a cash grab. And why are we playing this? But because it's European, everybody loves it. Getting off my soapbox. He's averaging a goal every 167 minutes, or basically every other game, which is pretty nice. For a side like FC Cincinnati, who have been down so bad at the nine since Vasquez left, it's understandable as to why they would invest so heavily right now. The hesitation is that we've seen a lot of top players come in, as you mentioned, Kuipers, Van Zier, who actually I have to take off of this list because massive comes. This is Mr. Clutch right here. When do we need a goal in the playoffs? Oh, Dante Van Zier's here. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I got to scrap this whole section now because Van Zier's just a
You
go.
you you went on such a Red Bull tangent, you lost track of where you were.
There are a couple who just haven't quite hit the ground running right from the start, right? And it's to me, it's because they don't really have the service required of them to make them great, right? Hugo Kuiper's not getting a lot of service. Dante Van Zier had to play most of the season without a proper number 10, right? In 2023, Lewis Morgan was hurt, and we didn't have anybody really to play him into space outside of the 19 missed one-on-ones he had. And Emil Forsberg missed half the year this year, so he really hasn't had that service to get him back to that level. As you mentioned, we don't know what's happening with Luciano Acosta. FCC may be on the verge of losing him, and if that happens and they don't find somebody to replace him at that same level, might he be another version of a high priced flop like Pity Martinez, like Ezekiel Barco, like Georgios Giacomakis,
Like
like
Gonzalo Pineda.
what other big
Wait, no, I
spending
said the wrong name.
you
Gonzalo
did?
Verón.
Yeah, you tried hard. You tried so hard. And that's okay. I give you credit for your efforts. Well done. Good job, buddy. Gold star.
Yeah.
Silver star. Silver star. Yeah, you just don't know what's going to happen. But I did want to touch one more time on something you were alluding to before, and it's MLS's spending habits in Belgium. We talked about how they're getting a couple of younger players from Norway and Sweden and all these other places, but we have seen them shift in their spending habits. And we touched on this last episode, but it's always fun to look back and see how the league's evolved, right? You start out with the American stars showing out in 1.0. Then you go to MLS 2.0, and it's basically almost retired designated players collecting a bag and going home, right? Then in MLS 3.0, you're looking at that young flip for profit South American player. And now we're in this 4.0 where we're looking more in prime European players from not top five leagues, right? As it relates to Denkey, one of the things I wanted to ask you, because I was thinking about this before, do we think we might start seeing us overpay for players because it's the new cool thing to do and it's what MLS 4.0 is all about?
No, I mean, if it's necessary to get guys to come here, then I feel like it's a necessary thing that I would want teams to do. But I don't even think the fee is like anything overly crazy payment. Like you're talking about a guy who absolutely tore it up last season in the Belgian top division, helped his team get all the way up to fifth place. Like tremendous feat. I mean, this is a guy that should be, you would think would be moving on to like a Premier League side for like 20, 30 million. Like it just has that written all over it. And yet you're seeing FC Cincinnati grab the guy for 15. Like that I think it's a good deal. I don't even think that they necessarily overpaid, even if it's the most expensive. But even if you did need to overpay to bring some guys in, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I mean, these owners have deep pockets. Make them use their pockets. They're gonna be fine. They have billions of dollars. Spending an extra couple million to bring a guy in because he's considering your team or a Bundesliga team, it's worth the money, in my opinion. I think a certain Robert Kraft may disagree, but this is we talked about FCC. I think maybe 2 episodes ago at this point, talking about Luciano Costa, and we talked about what direction we want the league to go with signings, and we said they should go for some of these stronger leagues in Europe, guys that are in their primes that aren't getting looks at the top five leagues that we can poach and bring in here who can stay here for multiple years and be successful and build a home and build a career here rather than a 20-year-old who we don't know if is going to be good, who we can maybe turn over for profit. And that is exactly what FCC went out and did. I think it's fantastic. I would like to see more teams doing this moving forward, but I'm not holding my breath.
My worry isn't the ambition to go get players worth that value, right? That's why the first section above us was, is he worth it? And I think maybe yes, maybe no. But my worry is what we saw in MLS 3.0, right? Atlanta hit literally one time. Miguel Almiron came in. It was you flipped him for big money, and it was like
I mean, they
big
hit
rush.
twice. That's not fair to say. They hit with Almada.
Yeah, but that was 5 years after, right?
That was
So they
still that's still MLS
uh,
3.0.
listen to what I have to say. Use your listening ears,
I
right?
don't have listening ears. I only have
Use your
speaking ears.
use your listening ears and your thinking brain, okay?
What's a thinking brain?
I know you're I know. Um, they hit literally once on Miguel Almiron, and everybody just ran over to Argentina, Brazil, and just started bringing anybody they could over. And how many of those guys did we see flop realistically, right? Like, I mean, Atlanta had a handful of them just in their own team. They went and they brought in South American Player of the Year, Pity Martinez, flop. They brought in Ezequiel Barco, flop, right? Like these sorts of players were very, very sought after, and there was a very high fee paid for a lot of them, and it almost felt like, okay, you're Brazilian, you're Argentinian, we're going to bring you over anyway. We'll make you fit at some point. My worry is that ends up becoming the new fad in MLS 4.0, where we're going for all these mid-level European guys, but because it's Europe and their prices are jacked up even higher because it's Europe, that's when we start just throwing dumb amounts of money at people who don't, don't get it, right? And I say it like our friends at MLS Aces, they put a quick list together of some players leaving the Belgian system to MLS, and includes the likes of Hugo Kuipers, Joseph Paintsil, Al Hassan Youssef, Dante Vanzier, and Bukhari in Austin, right? Some of these came over as record signings for their clubs in terms of transfer fee. And if you think about it, and I know it's a short time for some of them, and there's still time for them to break out, but Paintill's been the only one as of late to come in and make an instant impact, right? Van Zier's been a goat in the playoffs, but relatively okay everywhere else. Hugo Kuiper's been okay. Al Hassan Youssef, we're not really sure about him yet. And Bukhari started off red hot and then disappeared for 3 months. And again, I know it's a small sample size, but you look at people with those price tags and they need to be instant impact players. So are you better off getting a few players around 3 mil instead of one 15 mil player? I don't know. It depends on what your team looks like and how you can fit it in there. But I don't mind the ambitious spending, but I just worry that we're going to start spending dumb amounts of money on players who don't necessarily deserve that just because of the cool new thing, right? And again, at the end of the day, you're right. It's not my money. It's not. It's our owner's money, right? But my fear is they spend dumb money, they realize they spent dumb money, and then they spend 5 years spending no money, a la the New York Red Bulls. So
I don't feel like I don't even necessarily feel like they're making dumb signings. I actually think they're making smarter signings than what they were doing before, where you're looking at like Barco, for example. He did like almost virtually nothing in his career by the time Atlanta had poached him. He had one season in I think the second division in Argentina where I think he looked really promising at 17. Then he goes up to the top division, plays less than 500 minutes, and then is off to Atlanta. Versus bringing in Hugo Kuipers, who is your, I believe, Golden Boot winner in the Belgian league. Now
yep,
you're bringing
he won
over,
Golden Boot. You
yeah,
got Denke who won Golden Boot. And I'm not saying those players in particular are the problem. My worry is you're going to get somebody who is, has one, has been in let's not use Belgium as an example. Let's use Portugal, right? Goes to Portugal, plays for a not CP or Porto, right? Plays for somebody else. Couldn't tell you. There are only two teams in Portugal. Everybody else is just
that,
making up the
not
numbers.
true. There's at least three.
Who's the third one?
Benfica, where Musa came from.
Never heard of her. Um, let's say they play for. Let me dig back into my FIFA SBC days when we had to do Portugal.
Just say Braga.
Yes, that was the one I was going to go for, actually. Nice. Let's say they play for Braga and they've been there for 5 years, right? Been there for 5 years as a youth player. They've had 1,500 minutes a season, and they automatically break out and score 10 goals, 3 assists, something like that. And now you're going to go look, he's at the end of his contract. You're going to try and get him, and you're going to pay him designated player money for one good season when you could use that on somebody more deserving of it. That's my worry. My worry isn't necessarily like, oh man, Deke is going to come in and be a flop, right? Kuipers is never going to pan out because Greg's going to play him as a right back and he's going to be, whatever, right? Like that's not my worry. My worry is somebody pops up in Belgium for one, or Belgium, Portugal, whatever, one half season, Netherlands too, right? Pops up for one good season and then they throw 15 million at him and say, okay, come on over and play for us. And he's just he had one good year. That's my worry. And again,
Well,
at the end of the day, not my money.
it's not happening right now, so I don't feel like we should speculate it happening until it starts to happen. Right now, I think they're signing people who have proven to be successful over there versus someone who's put up like decent numbers for a season. I feel like that was the track record back when it was like, let's bring in the 18, 19, 20-year olds from South America who have played like 1,500 minutes in a season. And that clearly means that they must be on the up. They're the next Leo Messi. So let's bring them in. Uh, it feels like they're making smarter choices by getting guys that are proven. Hopefully they continue to go that direction. I wouldn't be shocked if what you said happens. I still think there's plenty of owners out there that just don't do their due diligence, but I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt until I start seeing it happen that they'll continue to invest smartly in bringing over talented, proven players from these top outside of the top five divisions.
Yeah, I see. As a Red Bull fan, I've stopped giving benefit of doubt to anybody because then I get hurt, except for the year of our Lord 2024 when we're going to win MLS Cup. So,
It's
um,
Jurgen. He's pulling the strings behind the scenes.
I say he's got Don in a chokehold right now. Don't you dare.